Alright, patch 4, patch notes. I don't know everything yet. In fact, none of us do. Tomorrow we will scavenge the entire game for anything that has changed. But for now, there is patch notes out. So, patch 4, player improvements, zones, SDK level optimizations. Patch 4, you got a cool little GIF here. 18 months of core development brings great performance increases, development optimizations, and a swath of new improvements. Slowly but surely, these under-the-hood changes have brought us from experimental ideation to tangible quality advancements for VR physics interaction and bone-style gameplay development. Player rig improvements. Player rig has significantly progressed to become more physical, more performant, and to feel better to control. Particular attention was paid to mantling interaction with levers and lockers, small props when interacting aiming guns, recoil, adding a physical neck, and a physical twist bones on the upper arms, lower arms, and thighs. So, especially what that means is better physics. The rig is quite improved except for the IK. The IK is kind of trash, but the rig has been improved. And there's a noticeable difference, especially when climbing things. SDK updates. Patch 4 comes alongside a large update in the Marrow SDK geared specifically towards mod level creation. Place spawnables with ease, now using the dynamically loaded spawn preview meshes. No more void meshes everywhere. This will even work with palettes created by other users. So, you can spawn dynamic things instead of... I don't honestly know that much, I'm not a modder, but it sounds like to me, you can place spawnables in the actual SDK now, and they'll just live update, and you don't have to do much of other stuff. Zones. The zone system has been completely rebuilt, refactored, reworked, retooled for level creation. Marrow entity tracking and performance optimization. This enables modders to more seamlessly create high-quality levels with more complex player involvement. For additional information, please see this link. So what this does, and I've noticed this and tested it in-game, is it deloads things based on not only line of sight, but also where you are. So it's pretty insane actually how it works, but basically it makes rendering things a lot easier, and it will just de-render all this from the physics emulation, which makes running large, massive projects 1,000 times easier. And you can see that in the little GIF of Mr. Nobody here. And that corresponds to zones as well. You can set these zones to de-render stuff, so that when you're out of sight, just why have all this rendered, you know? And then when you get back, like, NPCs don't even delete anymore. It's actually kind of fascinating. They used to, but now they just stay there, and it runs perfectly fine. This GIF showcases a cutting through other zones and seamless transitions between them. Once exposed in the SDK, these tools will enable you to more easily set up interesting and unique level designs. So it sounds like on launch, this is not going to be available just yet in the SDK. And this is line of sight tracking, I believe. I believe that would be your player camera, and as it moves through, you can see all this stuff rendering in. Presume that's just a bunch of NPCs. Spawnable dynamic objects, Marrow entities fill the library of items you are now able to utilize in your level creation. By referencing the Bonelab palette of spawnables in your mod project, you can place and spawn almost any Bonelab object the same way we can. Since these items are all Marrow entities, they are all tracked and dynamically culled per zone for optimization. So that sounds to me, and I'm not a modder, so I don't entirely know, but you can use any prop in the SDK, and it will work perfectly and seamlessly with zones. They go on to say, since we know embarking on a massive Easter egg hunt for all spawnable objects is a daunting prospect, a gashed pawn machine has been placed, which is the thing we saw in patch 3 beta, and I guess it has not changed one bit. You just spend ammo, do the whole thing, and get all the spawnables. Spawn gun UI has been reworked to allow better sorting and filtering of download mods. This should make things easier as the list of spawnable items in mod gets even longer. So, as you can see in the GIF here, they go through multiple things. And this is a thing in patch 3, so it's no different really. But you can go into like melee, blade, blunt. So they're all categorized within each other, and it makes it easier to find stuff. I think a search bar would be a lot better, but you know, quality of life. Box grips and barrel grips have a pass-on bug and interaction cleanup. Previously, it was possible to run into an issue where grabbing a scaled box grip would cause the hand towards the root center of the box barrel, rather than the spot where the player intended to grab. So that was the glitch where you would grab something, or at least try to grab something, and it would gravitate your hand like way out to some invisible force. Minor level adjustments. So this is actually pretty important. They made several pretty cool adjustments to levels, especially the mini games within the campaign. And it's not that big of a deal, but it's pretty cool. They added more lighting. For example, one thing I've noticed is the Street Puncher elevators now have actual elevators, and guards actually come out of them as you fight them. Tons of further optimization has been made to rendering, loading, asset streaming, interactive set pieces, colliders, occlusion, nav mesh, textures, sounds, light maps, shaders, materials, fog, static batching, memory use, asset file size, etc, etc, etc. So, just a whole lot of optimization for everything to make the game run a whole lot better. Mountains of bug fixes, covering a wide range of issues of logic errors, collider issues, incorrect scales, all leading to physics weirdness, to UI bugs, object double spawning, double rig body objects becoming broken from spawning, texture mistakes, incorrect references, mysterious super cursed override reference bug, and blown out light probes. So I'll sort of summarize that. It's basically talking about collision issues. So colliders as in like things falling through the ground, as well as logic errors, which is just when the game freaks out. Like, example, when you're constraining a bunch of stuff together, it doesn't know what to do with that and just freaks the entire thing out. Obviously lighting, objects becoming broken from spawning texture. Yeah, so that's when the game lags once it replaces an NPC. Incorrect references, and that should fix many code mods once they're updated to work on the patch 4 SDK. And the super cursed override reference bug was where the rig would pop out and your arms would like hang down. It was really weird and creepy. Gash pawns are now destructible. Yeah, that's the same as patch 3. The spawnables, those are now gash pawns, I guess they're calling them, are destructible, which is literally no different than patch 3. Beta, at least. Mod.io subscription downloading. So I haven't actually tried this out myself, but it works as far as I know. There's no mods to download right now because they are all broken, but once there are, on Quest especially, there'll be a game changer. You'll be able to hop in there and download stuff. You can now connect your mod.io account directly and download all subscribed mods. No, this will only download mods compatible with the Marrow SDK version above, so as in patch 4. You can still manually install older mods, but they will likely have problems if they haven't been updated. And, I mean, they do. None of the mods work. None of them. Alright, patch notes, patch 4. So these are the actual patch notes. Player rig improvements. Optimize hand poses and increased range of motion on some poses. I don't know what they're talking about, because the IK doesn't do that at all. It limits where your wrist can go. So you can't even turn your wrist 90 degrees. That's one of the things I don't like about this update. Physical neck, upper arm, lower arm, and thigh twist are added. So basically, wherever you move, it will track that. Obviously, there's not full body tracking, but it will emulate that within the physics world, tracking your rig more accurately to real life. Lever, locker, and joystick interaction are polished. Lever, I assume it means... it's probably a thing in the controller. I don't think it actually means something in the game. But again, I'm not a modder, I don't know these terms. Shouldering pose added to tighten aiming and lean physics into shots. Tighten aiming and lean physics into shots. I don't even know what that means, I'm not gonna lie. Interaction while moving, polished to remove props. Player stabilized to withstand greater forces. So basically what that means is if you're getting hit by stuff, and especially this is an issue before, if you're like fighting someone, you used to really push yourself back when punching and grabbing the floor and stuff like that, because there's an opposite force working against you, and so the physics tells it to push the rig back. But I guess they made it a lot harder to do that now, so it should feel a lot better. Teleporting polished. There's not even teleporting in Bonelab, so I'm not even sure what they're talking about. Gun recoil improved. Slow avatars move slightly faster. Mantling greatly improved. That is true. And that's one thing I've very much noticed is from day one in Bonelab, if you tried to mantle and climb stuff, it would break and set your legs like way out there. Your legs would get up there, but your body wouldn't, and it was a huge pain. But now they fixed it. Movement while crouching improved. Sound effects added to hands when they are on slide surfaces. I have noticed that the sounds are very quality. They're very good. Great update. Significantly optimized performance. Very true. With the rig itself, it's not so laggy anymore. It doesn't skip frames when you slow down time. It's super optimized. Feels great. Tons of under the hood preparation for the player rig to be more separable as an NPC. And so this refers back to the thing they were talking about before, where they want to take player interactions with the rig and transfer those into an NPC. So that's not going to be for a long time, probably not even in the span of Bonelab's life, but they've made adjustments to the rig to prepare for that in the future. Alright, reworks. Zone, fully rebuilt using the zone system, includes tools of zone links, triggers, events, and other zone-based components. So that basically means that instead of having basic triggers like the old zones were, they have actual zones, where if you wander in them, it will de-render what was previously over there. A great example of that is Street Puncher. It's very optimized. It feels very good to play now. All rigid bodies migrate to Marrow Entity System for tracking with the new zones as well as internal state persistence, resetting and pooling, joint tracking. So that just means it's tracking assets for NPCs and when to de-render them. I believe so. I'm not a modder. Don't trust me. Layers, consolidated and optimized, collision matrix optimized, dedicated trigger layers for different use cases, concept of fixtures added. Damage volumes are rebuilt for consistency with health system, NPCs and objects destructible. So damage volumes, I assume that means like fire, because I know fire had a damage volume where if something would enter it, it would take damage. And I guess void matter as well was one of those. So they just revamped them, I guess. Interesting. Audio and mixes, all audio sources migrated to use dynamically pooled and spawned interface. Mixer moved to the Marrow. So not a whole lot changed in-game with audio, but they have all the audio in Marrow now. I guess it's not playing through the Unity engine and is instead, well, obviously it's playing through the Unity engine, but I guess it's instead not calling back to a reference, and it's just all in the Marrow SDK. Spawnable props, optimized artwork. What they mean by that is actual AI generated artwork, and there's a whole debate about that, but like it or not, that's the fact. Reconstructed hierarchies, added LODs, or LODs, various tunings, scale fixes, and that's what's new for props. Not a whole lot. LODs, static environment artwork, LOD work, and adjustments for optimal performance. So that basically means they removed a lot of the fog, and particle effects as well. They removed a whole lot of the fog. In the game, if you go back to like Street Puncher now, it looks fantastic. It looks so good now. Like they really improved it visually by sharpening up the edges and removing the fog. Affordances improved throughout most levels, including lighting changes. This is just what costs performance, basically, in either PC or Quest. Improved throughout most levels, including lighting changes, object placement, material swapping, fog volume adjustments, which makes the game so much better, color changes, slight lines, and sound effects improvements. Electronic puzzles reworked with void logic. I don't even know what that means. That's some kind of crazy language I don't speak. I guess probably the crane game, but I don't know what void logic means. Game control logic reworked. Basically just, again, with the rig. Object destructible and fragments. Trigger events reworked to zones. So yeah, instead of having just these trigger lines, basically they're just flat triggers that would trigger stuff when you get there. There's now zones that can trigger multiple things. Think of it like Fortnite Creative, actually. Think of it, instead of a trigger, it's a mutator zone. Various user experience design normalization, example button sizes. That's true, they did normalize the button sizes so they're not all weird now. Encounters adjusted, reworked, and optimized across most levels. I'm not even sure what that means. Probably NPC encounters. Encounter spawner groups. Yeah, okay, yeah. So they changed, it looks like they changed this. the AI engine. Spawn AI settings, roam base configuration, spleen roam, zone roam, spawn aggro, zone aggro, agent link. I find it interesting that they have spawn aggro, as in they spawn an aggro, and zone aggro. That means once they step in a zone, they aggro. Life cycles reworked for pooling. Hibernation art coal. I don't even know what that means. It's for NPCs apparently. Hierarchy rework and bug fixes. I assume that means just what takes priority over performance. Entity pose, or it might mean who's stronger in NPCs actually. Entity pose, decorator for posing NPCs on spawn. That's really cool. Oh, that's extremely cool. So you can now pose NPCs in a pose that you want on spawn. Omni's navigation improved. They don't run into walls anymore. They're pretty good about that now. Bug fixes. Loot table off by 1 fix. Oh yeah, no, I know. On Street Puncher, I believe there's loot on the table that they fixed because it was off by 1 on the y-axis. Respawn teleport points and fixed adjusted. Or fixed and adjusted. Highlighting tutorials on weapons fixed. None of this really matters, but I'll read anyway. Crate reference issues fixed. Occlusion culling fixes. Double spawning objects fixed. That's actually good because it means there's pooling now, or there's no pooling now, which means it won't spawn, it won't use the same exact object it just spawned, and it will spawn a whole new instance of that object, which should make things a lot easier. UI alignment issues fixed. Collider fixes game-wide. Off-scale object fixes game-wide. Many texture mistakes fixed. And broken again. Many light probe issues fixed. Both grip bug and interaction cleanup. So this is very important. Box grips. Box grips were a pain because you would try to grab something and it would lose your actual grip. You'd just be stuck in this weird hand position and you wouldn't be able to grip anything until you restart your game. So they fixed that. Leaderboard UI filtering. Yeah, they did. I noticed that. Rotational drift while seated, which is super, super nice because it used to be where if you're sitting down in a vehicle, you would look around and it would move you the opposite direction. Your actual rig as you move your head. But it looks like that's fixed now, so it should feel a lot better. Bunny hopping jump reset fixed. That kind of sucks, but okay. Adjustments. Some levels slightly adjusted or improved. UX or optimization optimization. So like I was talking about earlier, they added quite a few new things. I know they replaced a lot of ladders in the game with elevators, like freight elevators. Destructibility added to certain spawnables. That's interesting. Gas palm balls are now destructible. Yep, same as patch 3. Environment seems reduced. Environment seems reduced, as in like the seams of it. I don't entirely know what that means. Environment layout adjustments to prevent players from getting stuck. That's cool. So it means they playtested it and changed stuff so that people would not get stuck in the environment. Material corrections, cool. They fixed, I presume, broken textures. Music playback adjusted, including placements and timing. Cool. So that means when you wander into zones, it'll actually play the music properly now. Yeah, here we go. Ladder swapped for lift. Ladders swapped for lifts. So, yeah, they replaced a lot of the ladders with lifts. Arena gameplay optimization and adjustments. Weapons choice and placements adjusted. Ammo count reconfigured. Missing colliders fixed in various levels. Misassigned physics materials and impact properties. Zone connection issues fixed in various levels. Occlusion bake issues fixed in various levels. Light bake issues fixed in various levels. Damage volumes now behave consistently. So that's again the void and fire. Added gas palm machine. Crate descriptions added. I'm not sure what that means. I think it's maybe for the SDK. Rendering and optimizations. Shader pre-warming added, which I guess it means it's kind of like nanite, where if you're not looking at it, it will be in less poly version. Light bakes visually improved and performance optimized across the game. Cool, that's always great to hear. That means that stuff is actually baked and the lighting looks good now, and it does. I've tested it. It looks fantastic. Light map based. Jeez, I can't read. Light map based baked reflection. Occlusion added. So that just means they add some occlusion and bloom based on the light map. Fog visually improved and performance optimized. Absolutely true. They basically removed it and it looks so much better. At least on Street Puncher, it looks amazing. Texture streaming, cache size is increased. I assume that means you can just have higher streaming textures, which will make them look a lot better. Cool. Memory use optimizations, storage use optimizations, material use optimizations. So all of these just make the game run a whole lot better. Audio clip loading optimizations, cool. Basically all of these, all 4 of these just make the game run a lot better. Optimize poorly optimized meshes, work in progress. Interesting. Consolidation of used assets per level. Used assets per level. So I assume that means it will auto remove assets if there's too many, but maybe not because of the zone system. All right, level specific. Descent, the final area layout adjusted and retuned. So I guess they improved stuff on levels. On descent, they improved a whole lot more. I'm surprised Street Puncher isn't in here. I think they just didn't put the patch notes in because these literally released an hour ago after the update came out. So, hub QLL changes to specific projects area. I'm not even sure what that means. I think it just means they changed around some visuals. Long run puzzle section rework. I did not know that. That's cool. District, slight line geometry overhaul. I don't even know what that means. Alright, we got UI updates, spawn gun UI, same as patch 3. Body mall UI, again, same as patch 3. Mod.io UI, added interface for body mod.io account to automatically download subscription on website. And that is the patch notes for Bonelab patch 4. I will give my opinion on it later. Oh, it's got this sick thumbnail, by the way, but for now, I'm just delivering the news as people want. And again, I'm going to scour the whole game tomorrow, see what has changed, and I will be back with that. But for now, the people demanding to see the patch notes, including me, we now know all the good stuff.